Hello again, YouTube. My name is Reagan Parrington. Today is August 15th, 2022. And while many students are going back to school, business is as usual. Men and women are buttoning their shirts and folding their ties, getting ready for a productive day at the office or construction set. I decided to spend this morning talking to you about our future, and in particular, climate change. And before I lose you there, I want to preface that the reason I'm doing this is to give you perspective, knowledge, and understanding of what we face as a species on our near-term horizon. Near-term meaning within the next 5, 10, 20 years. These are just some of the things you can expect and to look out for. In the meantime, as we are about 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial averages, that's the global average temperature, meaning some places can be much higher, much less. For those of you who already understand this content thoroughly, just sit tight, hit thumbs up, and maybe keep watching, because you know you aren't alone. This summer has been one of extremes. No matter where you're from, you felt it. Heat waves all around the world, setting records left and right. It was uncomfortable. And if you like living in a world that's 105 to 110 degrees, then maybe we have just different internal thermostats, because I don't find that comfortable. And so the intensity, frequency, and duration of extreme weather events will keep happening. We're going to see more and more hurricanes, typhoons, floods, wildfires, droughts, and heat waves around the world. This is the new normal. This is the world that we're expecting to live in at the moment. But we're breaching into very uncomfortable territory soon. By uncomfortable, I mean cataclysmic, world-ending. Okay, this is just the appetizer. So please, if you're with my channel and you're still here, keep watching. First and foremost, the drought that is ongoing in the world, including parts of Europe and US, will dramatically cut food crop yields by the end of this decade. We will see many staple items not appear on shelves. We will see supply chains being disrupted from virtually all number of consumer goods as a subsequent result of no food. And before I go on, I'd like to say a word about habitat. Habitat is defined as all the things that are necessary to keep us functioning, meaning running water, for humans at least, shelter, and food. And so when I speak of these things, you have to, about climate change affecting our way of life, you have to keep in the perspective of habitat for humans, the things that give us life. Moving forward, the Amazon die-off, the Amazon rainforest is being dramatically cut down, and the Amazon serves as a carbon bucket absorbing CO2, as well as the ocean is absorbing carbon. The ocean and and also the fish depend on the plankton to survive. So if we don't have a food supply like fish, like 2 billion people rely on the fish in the world who need the krill to survive, then what are people going to eat? Dirt and bugs? I want to also talk about the heat waves, and particularly among the equator region of the world. Pretty soon, by the end of this decade, we're going to be hitting wet bulb temperatures around the equator. We're already, but much more. And at that point, we'll likely see tens of millions of people die from literally being cooked from the inside out. There will be mass migrations unlike we've ever seen before. These people will have to move somewhere. And I disagree with Professor Sam Varkin, as I'm leading into my next subject, which is flooding, who thinks that we can just move people inland. Like New York is going to be flooded, completely submerged by 2050, and he thinks we'll just move all those people inward. For someone so intelligent, this is extremely myopic. Okay, so how are you going to move millions of people inland, rebuild an entirely new infrastructure and development, including habitat for humans, whilst experiencing wet bulb temperatures, more hurricanes, more floods. How many times do we keep having things destroyed and rebuilding itself until the sunk cost fallacy takes over? Again, for someone as intelligent as he is, it really boggles the mind that he thinks it can just be a snap of the fingers. That as much as humans have been ingenuity, as humans have precluded before in our history, that we think we can suddenly wave a magic wand and solve it this time. Not the case. Not the case. Unless you want to be feeding all these people ramen and artificial foods all the time. Gee, I wonder what effect that'll have on their cognitive ability, overall mood, and general peace and stability in the region. I'll let you do the guesswork. The next major tipping point, which is likely to occur by 2035, many people on this channel and others believe that we'll have an ice-free Arctic sometime in this decade. When an ice-free Arctic occurs, I'm just going to read a few of the things that will happen when this happens. So I pulled up this Arctic report card specifically for this video, and I think it's the highlight of the video, scientistwarning.org. And the title is "The Arctic is Screaming." In it, it details all of the peer-reviewed literature and facts related to the health and vitality of the Arctic, not to mention the consequences of it melting. So, the consequences of an ice-free Arctic according to Professor James Hansen. So the consequences of an ice-free Arctic according to James Hansen. He's a climate scientist who testified to Congress about the effects of climate change. Here are just some of the things that'll happen once the Arctic goes ice-free. 1. Both wave action and Ekman pump action will increase the bottom water temperatures of the East Siberian Arctic shelf, which will increase methane emissions from hydrate decomposition. That's not good. Permafrost decomposition will accelerate, which will both increase CO2 and methane emissions. Boreal forest wildfires will increase, like in Fort McMurray and further north and worse. The atmospheric thermal gradient will decrease, which will decrease the constraints on the jet stream, which will increase blocking events and will increase extreme weather events. We can expect to have at least 110 degree Fahrenheit heat waves for consecutive weeks in a row. That's what it's saying. Now, when we spike out to 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, things will stop and people will die. That is Death Valley, uncomprehensible temperatures. Okay. Warming over Greenland will accelerate, which will increase ice mass loss and associated sea level rise. The specific humidity in the Arctic will increase, and as water vapor is a greenhouse gas, this will increase Arctic amplification, which will decrease snow cover that will act as a positive feedback for more warming due to decreasing albedo. Shrub growth in the tundra will increase, which will also act as a positive feedback for more warming by decreasing albedo in the tundra. Pests will move further north, which will attack boreal forests and tundra shrub growth. Ground burrowing animals like ground squirrels will move north, which will accelerate permafrost degradation. Farmland will move northern, which will decrease albedo and will accelerate permafrost degradation. Plankton growth will increase in the Arctic, which will be smaller in size than the current average, which will sequester less carbon. That is the term I was looking for. Carbon sequestering. The thermohaline circulation, or the Great Oceanic Conveyor, will both slow and will convey more warm into the Barents and Kara Sea areas. Shipping will increase, which will increase carbon emissions, including black carbon in the Arctic, and resource extraction will increase. Essentially, as that one person said, when we lose the Arctic, we lose the world. Okay? That's simple. Habitat for humans will rapidly diminish when we experience an ice-free Arctic, which could happen in a year now. It's a ticking time bomb, literally and figuratively. But like I said, it hasn't hit people's dinner plates yet. Though, The droughts that we are now seeing and experiencing in the Southwest, China, and Europe is going to have already impacts on our food supply in the upcoming harvests into 2023 and 2024. So let's review. We have intensity of extreme weather events, including droughts, fires, wildfires, and floods worldwide. These events will cause billions of dollars of damage, disrupt supply chains, and otherwise make life hell for many millions of people. We will have lethal wet bulb temperatures striking the equator and other regions north and south of that, causing loss of life and a complete stop to industrial activity. We are polluting the oceans with plastic, carbon, and thus increasing ocean acidification, which is bleaching coral reefs and destroying marine ecosystems, which we depend on for our survival. And then last but not least, when we lose the Arctic, our world will become hell mode. I doubt many will see the need to keep living. I see mass panic and people screaming in their homes, wondering why, oh why, could we have done something? But instead we chose the path of least resistance. That was the easiest, most comfortable path, to continue business as usual, to keep feeding our gobs and taking our children to school, ignoring the present threat that's indicated by science and nature that was coming for us. Maybe under this context that we couldn't do something about it. All of this is frightening, and it should be, and your choice to remain asleep or willfully ignorant is beyond morally conscionable. There is no words to describe it. I guess I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.